John, that I am curious about that. What can you share with those that are listening today about the future self with us stepping into this new year within the next couple weeks? Is there anything that's you're just really excited about?
It's fascinating because there's the research around future self is robust, but they don't. But sometimes the researchers don't call them future selves. Sometimes they call them like temporal modulations or looking at milestones. I mean, there's some mixed research with having a demarcation between 2021 and 2022, like a new year, new you. There is some research that says that's valid, that there is usefulness in thinking of yourself as being a different version of yourself in these time markers. Similar with birthdays, big birthdays, turning of the year, these kind of things. But they often will break down too. So there's also research that says these kind of New Year's resolutions don't always work out. But the interesting thing about this research is that I think if you apply it to hope theory and you are thinking, okay, I'm being my same self, but I'm adopting this different set of action steps, that's hard. That's hard to do. I think if you're thinking, okay, there's a new year, what inner qualities do I want to emphasize? What's that inner work? Who am I? How am I being different from 2021 to 2022? That's a much different question. And that question involves an inner journey. You have to get curious. You have to go different places. You have to have an insight. You have to figure out, even defining what characteristic you want to emphasize is useful. And then you combine that with thinking about, okay, so now what are the actual pathways? And the thing I've been really riffing on is this idea of mental contrasting, where it's not just thinking about the positive, all of the awesome that's about to happen, but also contrasting that with, okay, what are the possible or potential challenges? And what's my plan to meet those possible and potential challenges? How am I really going to spend time thinking about, uh, let's say you want to go to the gym, but it's snowing outside. Okay, so what's the plan? Like, what's the snow plan for working out? So it's contrasting those positive. Yeah, it's going to be amazing to be, you know, uh, the spring season is going to come and all those outdoor sports are going to open up. This is the shape I want to be in. But then to also contrast that with the very real, these are the action steps I need to take, or this is my plan to meet those challenges. That's what's coming up for me a lot in this future self research. Is it's not just this nuance, just dream it and make it so. It's dream it, plan for it, and follow through on it. It's all those combined with this new 2022. It's that's where a lot of my headspace has been this past 2 weeks.
That's amazing. Is this idea of like being proactive minus or instead of reactive when it comes to that? And I think when we're proactive and thinking through, okay, if this is a potential hurdle here, even if the hurdle transitions a little bit and it isn't the hurdle you thought it was, even I think preparing yourself mentally for the upcoming hurdle actually prepares you for various other hurdles because you've given yourself that space and that time to think through, oh, okay, so other things can happen that can get in the way. How am I going to show up when I meet that, or if that does surprise me? So I think that's really cool.
Totally, totally.
Love the future self. It's my favorite tool. I just think casting a vision for ourselves is incredibly powerful, and I we don't do that very often. It's typically these transitions, the year or the birthdays that you're talking about. But I think that having a vision for our future self is really crucial to us meeting goals or moving forward and growing as a person. And so that's cool. I'm so excited to read your powerful paragraphs. Everybody check them
Oh, it's
out.
interesting. It's fun. No, thanks, Ashley. I mean, the future self is an interesting thing because you put yourself there. You have to choose, like, where do you want to be in a year? Where do you want to be in a certain amount of time? And it's a little bit of a guessing game. It's a little bit of a. It feels there is some emotional risk in that because you have to. There's an acknowledgement of gratitude for the present. Wishing for a different future doesn't mean that there's not gratitude in the present. And I think one of the traps of the future self is uh, thinking of yourself or like having an imaginary. I mean, the researcher, uh, her name Her name starts with an O. It's like Ottenberg or something like that. I should know this. I've been reading it, like, but I haven't been saying it out loud. You know, like when you're in that research and you're just in research mode. You know, I haven't actually had a conversation out loud about this. I'm in that space anyway. So her idea is like the positive fantasy. The positive fantasy is not useful because it can actually be harmful because you think, okay, I would love to be there. I'm not. Now I'm going to be hard on myself for not being where I wanted to be at this point. And it's that hard on yourself that is that the positive fantasy might actually be more harmful than if you just express gratitude for the present moment, right? So that's where she comes up with mental contrasting. That's the antidote to this positive fantasy idea. And if you can get into that space, I've been playing with it because I feel like, yeah, this feels right. It feels like, yeah, this is what you would do a lot of times naturally in a coaching session. But it's more like a checklist. It's like an internal checklist for this goal, you know, and then seeing how that plays with motivation. I am fascinated, and so I'm looking at this thinking, okay, for me, the powerful paragraphs are as much a structure for me as everyone else. So I'm on board too. You know, I want to read them as well, and I am like looking forward to them. And I think I got a system and structure where I can riff. You know, I have my own creative plan in place that I've been trying to execute this past 2 weeks, and it's been going well. I have 5 ready to go. You know, I'm ahead. I know by 2 days.
That's so good though. The powerful paragraphs are powerful.
They're fun. It's 4 questions in a sentence. You know, it's trying to mimic a life coaching session. And it's interesting because I start, I read things. I'm like, oh, I could write that better. And then I start writing my powerful paragraphs and I go, wow, it's way harder than it seems. And I have so much respect for all of the authors, anyone putting anything down on paper on a regular basis, or anyone doing anything consistently, like any creation of content that's consistent. We all should be in awe and just, wow, that's amazing.
Oh, Britt and I were just talking about that the other day. It's incredible. Authors are remarkable.
Yeah, you have to dive deep you have to do deep work with distraction free. You have to, it's a risk. Is it worth the energy? Is it, it's a lot. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for the creatives, people who are doing stuff.
Yeah. You go, creatives. You go. Keep doing your thing, bringing us light. Okay, so that was awesome, Don.